Sheep farming is a game of numbers. If you only have one sheep, you're going to lose money. If you had 3 sheep, you'd still lose money, but not in proportion. This is the year of the shepherd farmer. The countryside is changing from the familiar green to brown. There may be very few trees and leaves falling in the Gala Farragrande grain of rice, but the view across the lake makes people think autumn has come. On the hillside, the shepherd is doing his best to gather the sheep. Joe Joyce is a sheep farmer. From him and to my father, who worked as a farmer here. And maybe my grandfather did this too. I've now cultivated about 256 acres here on the hill behind. There's 1,500 acres of land on the with 5 households sharing on it. Joe works with his neighbors to gather the flock, their sheep from the hill. We gather them 5 times a year near the hill. In those days, we worked as a team. Sheep of the beard are gathered in the autumn for a sanitary bath. One of the problems with the sheep on the hill, this is a helminth infection, and they have to take 4 times a year. Joe's healthy black-faced sheep surviving on the mountain through the harshest weather, but they need to be treated with bleach and bathe in the water. There are drugs to prevent parasites. For many years, people just lift them up in a little concrete box. It's weird. People didn't think that just digging a hole. You just fill the tank with water and put some chemicals in it. It's used to protect sheep from the weather and against all types of bedbugs and fires. You'll definitely know which ones haven't been dipped in water when you bring them back, because those that haven't dipped have lighter hair. Island sheep are raised in the hills. Like this have international reputation and quality. New data shows that traditional sheep farming is in crisis. In Ireland, 31,000 shepherds with average income from the farm. Family under 10,000 euros. Animal husbandry are not a job you do for money. It's an effort of love for me. Because I love sheep. And if I could live entirely on it, I'll be delighted. Island sheep have almost halved, from a high of 4 to 8 million sheep down to just 2 to 6 million. There are several different varieties. But whatever the commercial sheep are, they don't get good prices. At this time, they cost about 90 euros each. It depends on the time of year. It depends on supply and demand, between 75 and 100 over the past few years. To make a profit, farmer Roni Edwards raises a flock of sheep separating to the commercial herd. The sheep next to me is 6 months old. It's a mating ram that costs 4,600 euros. Lotus-separated sheep are raised to make the rams, sold to commercial livestock farmers. The Texel is a breed of sheep native to Texel Island, right off the coast of the Netherlands, and it's been in Ireland for about 35 years. They've been bred to produce meat-rich sheep. These sheep themselves don't produce enough meat, but when combined with rams, they make a better breed of sheep. In Wicklow, former sheep councillor of the Food and Agricultural Development Agency, Andrew Kinsella, trying to create a perfect sheep breeding system. My father bought it in 1974 for 21,000 euros. Then he raised cattle and sheep. But in the last 35 years, it's been almost entirely sheep. I'm interested in breeding sheep, and I just want to improve on what previous generations have done. If the previous generation was at 1.3 or 1.4, I think this generation has to improve on that. Livestock can't step on the spot. You've got to try to push the boundaries a little bit more. Andrew holds 6 rams, carefully selected to breed with his ewes. These are Ben Clair's 2 rams. They were purchased this year. Baram Kier. It's used to create substitutes. The ewes will join Andrew's flock to produce more lambs in the coming year. Meat sheep made from the remaining 3 rams. I mate the Suffolk with the sheep. Bentley to make black ewes. Then bred with Bentley sheep. I don't want to breed Bentley with Bentley. Suffolk is still the fastest growing. These 2 rams are Kaloi. It can be used as a breeding sheep. They have the perfect shape during mating. The rams eat very little, should be in the last 2 or so weeks. I give them a boost to stay healthy. Because at the end of mating, they lose a lot of weight. Have healthy rams during the breeding season. It's very important. A sign that the male is fit enough. It's a pale pink pigment in the skin. Another factor to pay attention to is that his testicles have to move freely. There's no swelling or anything unusual like that. A male without a high body temperature. If it has a cold and hyperthermia, his testicles will soften and shrink. Your reproductive health will be weak. A sheep is good, will give you a better chance of making more lambs. Numbers are important when you're selling sheep. If I could sell 15 sheep for 10, I'll end up with a bigger profit. And that's why, SAO, it's very important to have more sheep when it's time to sell them. People might think that a sheep born in April and sold in June or July, they think this time is short. What they forget is that sheep have to be kept on the farm according to 12-month cycle. Most farmers will be lucky to make a profit. The profit can be 10 to 20 euros per sheep. That work lasted throughout the year. For the rams, that work starts in the fall, so the farmer can check that, how they're meeting people with ewes. This marking is to identify the ewes that it will mate with. The gestation period of a female sheep is 147 days. The farmer can note the date the ewes mate by looking at the signs that rams leave on the backs of ewes. 21 weeks after that, the lambs will be born. This ewe has been mated. You can see the red here. Then she'll be 21 weeks pregnant. Today is the 13th. She'll give birth on the 8th or 9th of Ba. We'll feed it on the right diet. All over the country, the sheep are very busy, but in the mountains, they're resting. We release the sheep around the 19th or November 20th, and we don't let them out until that time because the ewes stay on the mountains to give birth. In Kashmir, sheep are selected for a very special job. In the breeding season of Henry Clinton Brownie sheep, focus on milk yield. We've got 5 different breeds of sheep. I try to keep the breeds pure, so we don't let them in breeding. So it's possible to breed 60% of the sheep for the best productivity. Breeding sheep for milk is a highly specialized task. We don't raise sheep like the others. We raise sheep for milk here. We've got 250 sheep feeding now. We milk them 2 times 1 days, 7 days a week. Milking takes 3 hours at a time and 6 hours a day. Quite a lot of time. Every Sunday afternoon when people think about games or visiting relatives or something like that, I'm milking sheep. People say, what you're going to do on Sunday afternoon. No, I'm busy milking. It's a sacrifice, but that's what life is. I'm lucky that I have a lot of help. Many others are not so helped. Henry milked throughout the spring and summer, and the milk from his 300 ewes is mostly my Croatia Blue. We're milking sheep in mid-September. Then, from September to mid-January, there is no milking. It's a time of rest for us. Autumn is a quiet time for Henry. Yes, it's a holiday. It's still busy, but it's nice not to have to milk on Sunday. You can go outside without looking at the clock, or think it's time to go back. When autumn is coming to an end, just like Henry, the sheep are exhausted. You will enjoy the rest. The ewes, I'm pregnant, and the sheep farmers are ready for winter. Despite a -6-degree cold in Shannafaringun-Gunway County, Joe Joyce and your sheepdogs are still on the hill. Black-faced sheep are healthy and creatures, can survive the harsh winters on their own. But like all good shepherds, River will not rest assured without examining the sheep. It is better to leave the sheep alone in bad weather. They'll find their own shelter. The less intervention we see them doing better. So we just need to keep it to a minimum. Just make sure they're okay. The snow on the top of the mountain, it's easier to check your 9, and gave his dogs the rare opportunity training skills in the winter. I took advantage of today's weather. With the snow high in the mountains, I hope most of them are down there and there's no damage. There's only a light layer of snow. The sheep will go down, so it's a lot easier. The sheep-footed dogs of Europe are more important than your sheep. A sheep sold for 90 euros, but Chow can sell a puppy for a higher price. A lot about a litter of registered puppies. I expect to receive 200 euros, so there's a little dog here. Help me earn more, compared to the sheep in the mountains. And a trained dog could be worth more than 2,000 euros. It takes a lot of practice for the dog. They've got to finally get the cattle into the barn. Many dogs can't do it due to little practice. So it's just a matter of practice. But Roy's pretty good at this, so the sheep are pretty easily herded into the barn. Away from Joe's place in Hastings, West Stoughton, and a group of people. Shepherds have plans to camp made more profit. We're launching a new company today. You can see we're preparing. The lamb will be cooked tonight. Tonight is the premiere of Lamb Direct. With the help of a local butcher, Tom and his team have plans to sell their lamb direct to customers. Canned and pre-packed meat. It's a new experience for us. We've got 8 people who've never been in this business, but we're fast learners. And hopefully in a few weeks, the company will work well. Each of the founders invested a lot of money in the project. The launch ceremony was a culmination of 2 years of work. Shimos Hughes is one of the members of the group. You've got a farm near the shrimp. I've got 12 different lots. Most of them are mountains. And there are different sizes. Can be bus samples to samples and 12 samples. Fragmented farm of Shimos. It's typical of Western Ireland and make it hard to make a living. So you have a full-time job. Now I'm off work at about 3:30 and I'm going home. And just like habit, what I did in the morning, I do it again in the evening and hope to pray that there's nothing wrong. If there is no work, I can't make enough money on the farm to buy what I have. For Schmidt Land Direct means a lot. We have 8 people, know each other through one organization or related another. To sheep. Sheep face gray, sheep face black. Then we met at the sales. Talk about how much the factories pay. We all thought, why don't we slaughter and sell our own sheep? Remove the middleman. By making their own meat and selling to keep more profits. Sheep farming is an expensive job. A third of sheep farmers are actually losing money. The other third only breaks even, and only a third makes a profit. With the launch tonight, Tom and Sam are hoping to make it to the top 3, but to feed, processing, and selling their own lamb, it will be much harder than just having a party. I should get my money back in the long run, then giving it to the factory that I'll never even get back. It's a long process. I hope we can make a good profit. Produce more sheep and sell more sheep. When do you think that's going to happen? Not now. At this stage, I'll try to stay as long as I can, and if I'm healthy enough to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm not going to be a millionaire, but I hope to survive. It's going to be in the next 20 or 35 years. In the castle, a winter's glow kept the cold away. When Henry checked his sheep, it's freezing in January. We are working under an earlier cycle. Because most of the sheep farmers, the sheep will be born in March. So we did it 6 weeks ago. Most sheep are now starting to breed, so we divided the flock into 2 blocks. January block, and the ones we tested today is month 3. At this time of year, pregnant ewes do not produce milk, but after reproduction, that all changes. We're not into the busy season yet, but we'll be very busy in 2 weeks. Milking will start after about 2 weeks. We always have to watch. If there is a lot of ice, I'm not going to milk sheep. I'll wait until the ice is gone. Because of the frozen pipeline, and milking room is not convenient. Henry checks his ewes, so you can pick out the ones that aren't pregnant. I believe there is a good price in the factory at this time, so most sheep don't breed. It will be taken to the factory. And just like any farmer, what dairy farming, Henry only cares about the lambs because they supply the same milk. Most sheep farmers will have twice as many sheep, but the number of sheep doesn't really matter. The gender of the sheep is important, but we can't choose. So it's amazing that every mother sheep to give birth to a lamb, but that's not possible. When it's snowing on the hills in Wicklow, the sheep of Andrew Casella are in the cage waiting to be fed. Use your experience as a retired sheep farming consultant. Andrew, operating a system with a number of outputs, try to make more money. The sheep are outside in the summer, but kept in a cage in the winter. If I had 100 sheep here, I can leave them outside in the winter. But I chose the high yield business with high cost. So high yields mean raising more sheep. Managing many sheep, that means you have to give them. Go somewhere else in the winter to have grass in the spring for the lambs. That's why we need to rent space, and that's not going to be possible for a while, especially when I'm working. So I decided to keep the sheep in the barn. By feeding in the house, Andrew can increase the stock of sheep on their farms. A conventional farm that can support a sheep on an acre of land, Andrew's grazing rate is 5 times higher by using the elements, different inputs, and feed, as well as grass. I hope to increase my profits by let the 9 get to the top. during childbirth. At the end of the day, there's only one plan, and you try to do the steps as planned, with the necessary changes. It's still January, and while the sheep are waiting for spring, Henry has entered a busy period. We're going to see some newborn lambs here. The female started breeding about 2 days ago. It's only in the early stages. Is a sheep farmer who takes Henry's milk. You need to separate the lambs and the mother sheep are milked, and the sheep have to learn to drink their own milk. These are the lambs. We separated from the mother sheep early this morning. We are trying, encouraging the 9 young to drink milk. They're hungry because they haven't eaten since 7:00. Now we've got to get down here. I hope to succeed in training these little friends, sucking rubber knobs. By early milk for lambs, Henry can start milking the sheep right away. For the other shepherds, the lamb has not yet been born. The newborn sheep frolic in the sunset. It is a sure sign that spring has arrived. It's breeding time for sheep farmers. This is the busiest time of the year. Andrew gives birth to all the lambs in the house. We're on a Wednesday or Thursday. At this stage, there are not many sheep. There are only about 20. The ewes are gathered together, depending on how many lambs are expected to be born. This cage here is a twin cage. There are about 110 twins. This is Baba and 4, but it's mostly Ba. This cage is twins again. And horizontal barn Kier is born Ba. Andrew's flock has been in breeding season for 2 weeks, and I'm completely absorbed in this process. They spend 20 hours a day in the warehouse. The sheep gave birth to a baby that made Andrew work very hard. Stop it, lady. I'll support that lamb with one leg and one head sticking out. With a quick shake and a pat, this guy will be stable soon. But not all of you. All 9 had such a good start. That little lamb was born this morning. The chances of survival are 55 minus 10. And what it's put in here is a 3-year-old. If I leave it with 9 mothers, it will have no chance of survival, so it's going to be artificially raised. Now, we don't want to have pet lambs. After the birth, there will always be a few pet lambs. But until the end of the breeding season, the sheep will be moved. I don't want to see any pet lambs. I'm taking a lamb. This is the third generation, and I'm going to give one of them to a sheep. Give birth to only one child. It's crossbreeding, because one ewe can feed to lambs. Better than raising 3 kids. We put it in warm salt water, wash it. Put it in a plastic bucket. This is the sheep. It was determined to have only one child. Timing is very important. Okay, sheep. I can smell the lamb from liquid at birth. Now, let the ewe accept the lamb. We need to rub a lot of fluids at birth, up that sheep, retaining all fluids at birth, and you'll have a lot of that stuff to rub over the lamb. The head and legs are about to come out. Now 1 foot. The lambs give birth to 1. Takes a little longer because they can be bigger. 2 feet. A beautiful ewe lamb. That's liquid. At this stage, the ewe doesn't know that it only gives birth to 1, so he'll admit he has 2. Some people often put their hands to stimulate birth. But there's a lot of fluid around it. Add to the tail and back of the neck. Now, if there's no little twins, it'll get up and run away. How to do this is usually 0. Some lambs, if they're about a week old, can refuse ewes. They'll go and lie in a corner. There are now 2 lambs for the ewes. We put them there so the ewes can keep licking. This nurturing is successful, but reproduction doesn't always go smoothly. The death rate is 10%. After inspection, if you do multiplication, you've got about 600 potential sheep. But if the mortality rate is about 10%, I'll only get over 500 lambs. After the sheep are born, the modern breeding process will begin. Before the sheep go out into the field, they're tagged. The lambs are marked on the tail, and castration by rubber ring. You usually do this in the middle of the season to keep the sheep cleaner. And there will also be sheep made at the end of the year to prevent indiscriminate mating. In the mountains, lambs can be born a little later. Their appearance is also welcome. This sheep was born this morning. Here's a black-faced sheep. The little horns on the head look so pretty. You see them running out on the hillside. There are only small horns, so they have no trouble being born. It has a small weight, so when the lambs get a week or 2 here, they were sent up the mountain again. Beard cutting off his sheep's tail instead of using a piece of iron. The farmer would do this with his teeth. I've castrated the rams. We castrated the rams because if you don't castrate them, they'll have to be sold in October or November. That's when the rams are in estrus. The meat will smell. You don't want to eat uncastrated lamb. You castrate them so the meat doesn't stink. Trumaceti is the breeding season for sheep. Our Scott breed of sheep has started breeding on the farm. We just had for more lambs today. Yesterday, there were 14 or 15, so we've been busier. For any sheep farmer, feeding orphan sheep is a time-consuming task. Give me something to eat. But for the young assistant of shrimp, it'll make a childhood memory. Can't forget. A milestone of the agricultural year has come to an end. At the end of spring, take advantage of the beautiful weather. Let your dogs run on the beach. This may be the time that dogs always like the most during the day. Once a day, always in the morning, and before I feed them. I brought them back here to run backwards, running down the beach, a few hundred meters from my house. They're trained, especially when I don't take them out much. In the day, there's a lake they can go into. Can run up and down in 10 or 15 minutes. It's the best exercise for them, and they've always loved it. That's good training for dogs. Summer is coming. The sun may not be so strong, but in Sanafarragan, this is considered summer. Joe Joyce is taking advantage of the beautiful weather to shave their fleece. When I go to the lake, I can see many mountains and hills and see where the sheep are. I'll send Roy up the ridge here. Halfway up the mountain, it's going to gather 150 to 200 sheep, and it can do that in 40 to 45 minutes. Danba or 4 hours ago here, because you have to walk through the hills and back. It saves a lot of manpower and walking time. When Joe brought these sheep along the lake, I have time to think about raising sheep. You have to try to make a living, try to pay enough bills. If there are no benefits, the income is very small, even if you work with the same number of sheep. Because unless you have a wide hill with a large number of sheep, you won't make enough living. I don't think there are many sheep farmers in the water completely dependent on the sheep. But certainly for us, with a scale of 10015 200 sheep, you can't live on them alone. Sheep used to be raised for fur as well, but the fashion industry relies on artificial fibers, has reduced the demand for wool and fleece carpets. It's the same with all the sheep farmers. What used to be a source of profit, now it's a cost. It's 40 cents now. 1 kilogram is not worth it. 1 sheep can yield 2 kilos of fur. The cost of slitting is €2. You get 80 cents and lose €1. 20 cents. This is not a money-making exercise. Only the ewes are shredded because the rams will soon killed. Ronnie's sheep. Edwards was born just a few months ago and will soon be sold in the farm's store. River Ronnie lamb is processed at the local slaughterhouse. The veterinarians test every animal killed to make sure that it is suitable for human consumption. All slaughtered animals must be inspected to make sure they're healthy and clean. And it's identifiable because tracking is so important. And then we examine all the organs. By Tim, lungs to make sure that there aren't any abnormalities. People think there's just a piece of meat there, on the plate for them, but it's not. A lot of work is done before it's put on the plate. In Wicklow, Andrew Casella know the exact amount of work and the small profit you get. My biggest expense is for food and fertilizer. Then there's veterinary medicine. Then fixed costs for the maintenance of yard insurance, along with all other expenses. This winter food costs rise, but in the summer, I hope everything is balanced. When Andrew weighed the sheep ready to send to the factory, I don't know where my sheep will end up. I want to know which sheep my grandmother will buy. I'd love to know where the sheep go. And maybe I don't have a problem if that AI wants to come here to see me how to treat the sheep. It's great to know that that AI eats my lamb, and they appreciate it. Then I can show them what we're doing. And they can even tell me if there's a problem they don't like, or can we make it better? You know, it'd be nice to appreciate a tattoo. The sheep that Andrew raised, daily care is shipped to the factory in the early morning. Andrew's association representatives join at the factory door. When they get into the factory, Andrew's sheep are a commodity product and can be gathered at local butcher shops, at one of the big supermarkets, or depending on the factory order book, can be exported to the UK or even to France. Andrew didn't know where his sheep were going, but you know the price the factory paid you. We get back the most important review. It is accompanied by a slaughter declaration. Identify the characteristics of each sheep. There's a number, as we tagged for the sheep, before going to the factory, and we have a separate price for each sheep. For each sheep, Andrew receives an average of €9,155. After subtracting the cost, you only have 18.6 euros. Sheep in a working year is about €8,000. Unless something changes. I'm very worried about the sheep industry. I think supermarket chains, the shareholders of the company, you have a lot of responsibility for what happened. It's very similar to the situation of banks. The rules are very loose for what happened. And only if there's a disaster. People just started complaining that lack of food or something like that. By selling their own lamb, Lamb Direct Company brings Tom and Simus extra €10 for each sheep sold. Compared to those who are losing, at least I'm going in the right direction. I always hope that the market will improve. In this year, the meat market is better, and we're hoping to double the tuba this year. We always live. I hope that next year will be a better year. Currently, only a few people make a profit from what they raise, and we'll have to wait and see in the future. In Cashew, the future of animal husbandry are no longer financially secure. I once thought about stopping milking sheep. I still do the cheese show. And if that AI stands out and grabs some cheese, put it in your mouth and say, it's the best cheese. then it makes you feel great. In Shanna Farragon, Joe Joyce came to the conclusion, I'll never make a living selling sheep. As people would say, why keep the sheep when you don't make money? But that's our way of life. And whatever we have now, even if it's small, it's a healthy way of life. What we care about is a quality of life that we can bring to our children. That's why I wanted to create something when I started. Is it the sheep industry on the island? It's destined to be a tourist attraction. Economists say there is, but the farmer said no. It's a wonderful life. Yes, and if it's a good life, you'll earn money. But when you get to my age, it's going to be hard to make a lot of money to keep things going.